Okay, good morning, everyone. And what timeliness. And when you have to go, Dave, just wave at us and we'll understand completely. Okay, today I'm going to be doing a metaphysical interpretation, and it's not going to be of a nursery rhyme like the Three Little Pigs or something like I did before. It's actually going to be a metaphysical interpretation of a parable or a story, that's told in Luke. And it's the only gospel that this one occurs in. And it's one that we have grown up calling one term, and I'm going to call it by a different term, and you'll immediately recognize it when I do. And I'm going to have this called the young lawyer. This is the story of the young lawyer. And it happens at a time when Jesus has sent out 70 people into the countryside and everything to preach the gospel and tell everyone. And it's not the gospel that we later call the gospel. This is the story of the way. And he sends them out and has them go and tell everybody that he is going to be coming to their community at a time near. And he goes out and they are well received. They come back and they are well received by all the people. And many people came to them and said, we've heard about you, about your guy Jesus, and we're just awaiting his coming. We're thrilled that he's coming to our community soon. And he rejoices that all of them are well received, and as they came back and they weren't attacked or beaten up or anything, they weren't arrested. Everything turned out just fine for them, and he's real happy about this. And here's where we pick up the story about this young lawyer. It starts off as many of the stories from Luke do. It starts off in a tone of immediacy, and it starts this way: Just then, a lawyer stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he said, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Oh, by the way, this is from chapter 10, starting with verse 25. "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? What do you read there?" And he answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." And Jesus said to him, "You have given the right answer. Do this, and you will live." But wanting to justify himself, he asked Jesus, "And pray tell, who is my neighbor?" Now I can just imagine him saying this and then turning and looking at everybody else that might have been in the crowd with a little bit of a smug smile on his face. This'll trip him up, sort of idea. "And who is my neighbor?" And Jesus replied, "Let me tell you a little story." And he said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell into the hands of robbers, who stripped him, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him, and when he saw him, he was moved with pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, and having poured oil and wine on them, he then put him on his own animal, probably a little donkey or something like that, or maybe probably not a horse, but a small mule or something like that. And he brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii. These are coins worth about a day's wage, each coin. And he gave them to the innkeeper and said, "Take care of him, and when I come back, I will repay you whatever more you spend." Then he turned to the young man, Jesus did, and said, "Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hand of robbers?" And of course, the young man said, "The one who showed him mercy." And Jesus said, "Go and do likewise." Of course, this is what we term the story of the Good Samaritan. Let's take the Samaritan. Let's start right there with who he represented. In those days, the Samaritan would have been the least person these people would find qualified to be a neighbor. They felt in those times like the people from Samaria were outcasts because they still worshiped God by trees on a mountain as opposed to worshiping in the temple in Jerusalem. They held by the oldest way of worshiping El Adonai. By the way, I'm studying with a guy online who says that Yahweh is not a real word. It's just a word that we have used to identify V or W H or let's see, what is it? JHWH, Yahweh. Well, that's not a real word. It's a word we modern people have made up. So it's not really a word that would have been used in that time or in any time to describe God. The highest idea of God is El Adonai, which means the highest God. I'll get into someday of how there probably was no idea of monotheism in the Bible anywhere, but I'll hold that back for later. Okay. Now, so that would have been the person that they would have considered unclean. Just stay away from those people. They don't worship like we do or where we do or have anything to do with life as we understand it. Just to exclude them in all ways. Now, of course, the idea of a rabbi coming down through there, a priest, the priest had certain laws that he must respect. And one was he couldn't touch anyone dead, without then going through a whole cleansing process. And so if he had someplace where he had to be, he had to escape the idea and just say, "I don't know if this guy's dead or not, but I know that if I touch him, then I have to go through the whole cleansing process, and I don't want to have to do that. So I'll just go by him and hope for the best, and maybe somebody else will help him." Kind of like we do when we're speeding down the highway and see somebody leaning against their car, and we don't pull over to the side and say, "Can I help you?" Or we see somebody trying to fix a tire, jack up a car or something, and they don't know how to do it. Many times have I stopped. I'm sure many of you have done the same thing. Many of you have stopped. Now we don't have to do that because the person we see leaning against the car probably has a cell phone up against their ear, or they're typing something in and someone's on the way. So we don't have to worry about that so much, which is a good thing, a really good thing. That reminds me too of when I first moved to Unity of Fairfax. I had left the Unity Church in Nashville. And I always used to have this joke. I would say that in Nashville, if I came outside as the minister and I came outside and there was a flat on one of the tires on my car, immediately some of the men in the congregation would jump out there, open my trunk, take out the tire, and start fixing that tire, putting the spare on there as quickly as possible. But in Fairfax, the men would come out, look at the car, whip out their cell phones, and call AAA. That's the big difference in the two communities. Either way, though, I'm getting help, so that was quite a kind thing. but it was just a difference. Also, I noticed that when I moved from Nashville, elevators in Nashville played country music, and instead they played string quartets in the elevators in Fairfax. So that woke me up. Okay, getting back to the main story here. Let's take it all the way back to the very beginning and do some interpretation. It says that a man was walking down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Now, that's strange in and of itself because Jericho was supposed to have been destroyed, correct? But here he is, and he's walking down there. And it's not a long distance, but it's pretty rocky and rough. And, there were some, it was very dry and desert-like. And there were a lot of people out there who, rather than make money with a legitimate job, they would rob others, or they would take advantage of other people. One of the things it says he got into this. The robbers came out and got him, and they stripped him. They took his clothes. Then they beat him and left him half dead on the side of the road. What we would say unconscious, maybe, and it was difficult to tell whether the man was still alive or not. Let's go to a minute and do a quick interpretation of the two cities we're speaking of, or the two towns. Jerusalem literally means the holy place of peace. Salem, shalom. That's what it means. Heru, shalom, the holy place of peace. So he leaves from the holy place of peace. And of course, by the way, this person walking down there is you and me. That's what it would be in the story, it's you and me. So we leave the holy place of peace. We walk down through rather treacherous, deserted land. And what are we heading for? We're heading for Jericho. Jericho literally means, it's translated as the city of the moon. Now, in those days and times, they believed that the moon was putting off, it was the second light in the sky. They didn't understand that it was reflecting the light of the sun. They saw it as glowing, this white glow of light of itself. We see it now as a reflection of the true light. And metaphysically speaking, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a place that is the reflection of, not the origin of, but the reflection of the true light, the one light. As he's heading down, you and I are heading down, we befall hard times. Something happens to us. The priest has to walk by. He's bound by the law to walk by, rather than, if he wants to take care of his business, he has to go by on the other side of the road. And he does, heading also to the same place. Now it says that he was going in the same direction, but he had to go on the other side of the path in order not to touch this dead body. Likewise, a Levite. Now, a Levite would be like a lay person who is very religious-like, and that would be one who claims to hold to their religious beliefs, but just doesn't want to be bothered with anything outside of that. Now, remember, this person has been stripped of their garments, so it's hard to tell. Wait a minute, is this person a Samaritan? Is this person part of my clan? Is this a person part of another clan? Who is this person? Well, I don't think I need to get into this, and I don't want to be bothered with this. I'll go on my way, and I won't tell anybody about this experience I'm having. And so they too go on down the road. Then this one person who is considered somebody who should stand away from all of us. Now, many of you grew up in the same generation that I did, and you understand we are all from the flower child generation. We were the outsiders at that time. We were the ones who stood against war, which was, I don't know if it was quite popular, but it was definitely taking place. And we were the ones who stood outside of that. We were the ones who preached what we called peace and love at the time, which mainly was just free sex to many of us males. That's the way we viewed it. And but what we did more than anything else was try to put ourselves in a situation where we were peaceful, and we were not putting ourselves in a position where we were contending with any of the other people. We called one another brother and sister, and we greeted one another with this little victory sign. And that meant victory over the war, and it also meant, I know you, and you know me. We are holding this sign up. I will say though that when that conflagration was finally over, and that piece of time was beginning to go away, all the missing in action were released, and they came home. I remember watching on television, as many of you do, men and women, especially men though, who had been prisoners, getting off the airplane and falling on their knees on the tarmac and kissing the ground of this country, kissing the ground. So glad that they were home. Now, I can't tell you about the rest of you, but I will admit to myself, when I saw this, I cried. I cried with a feeling of compassion for these people who were now home, now back into their peaceful world, once again able to take up their lives and no longer be held in any kind of a prison at all. I was suddenly once again proud to be an American. I put aside any kind of silliness that I had within me, idea of us and them, and I saw us all as one again. I was so happy. The same thing sort of takes place in this situation with this person that we call the Samaritan. He sees this person, goes over to him to see if he's still conscious and living, and when he realizes he's living, he immediately goes into action and tries to do everything he can to preserve the life of this person. Puts him up on his own beast of burden, leads him to, and it never mentioned what he was really out there for, but he gave up whatever his intention was for the moment to do what he felt like was the right thing to do. He takes him to an inn. He puts him up there in the inn. He stays with him a couple of days, and then when he feels like, well, I must move on at this point, he does, but he leaves money behind, his own money, and he leaves it behind for the innkeeper and says, here, this pays for anything you've got, and I will be back and to see how this person is doing. In the meantime, take care of them, and any kind of money that's needed beyond this, I will provide it for you. And this person, whoever the owner of the inn was, which is within ourselves some special place, a place where we have everything provided for us. We can stay there in our time of pain, in our time of hurt, in our time of harm. We can stay there and wait until the time comes for this person to come again. And Jesus asked the question, who was the true neighbor to this man who was injured? And the answer was the one who showed him mercy. Well, no, I'm going to step outside that story for just a minute to use the word mercy again. Jesus at one time was sitting with some people having dinner, probably in a small cafe, restaurant, outside area. And he is confronted with someone who comes up to him and says, you're not doing things the way that your people and you are not doing things the way that the law prescribes? What is it that you are not, why is it that we never see you in the temple sacrificing? Jesus turns to this person and uses a phrase from the prophet Jeremiah. And he says to him, remember this, I deserve mercy. I command and desire, not deserve, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. And then he goes about his business again, leaving these people puzzled. What do you mean by that? What do you mean desire mercy, not sacrifice? Well, that's kind of where we are in our world right now. We are at a place where there are those who are attacking one another. We are a place where we are going out of this place of peace, this city of peace, this Jerusalem within our consciousness. And we are walking down through a treacherous way to down in an incline into a place of reflection of the true light, as opposed to seeking the true light. We're going down into a place of a reflection of the true light. Now, not all of us are doing this all the time, but that is sort of where we stay and live, and we feel like we have a desire to go there in order to find the truth. But we will always find that truth in this Jericho within ourselves as nothing but what it states. It is a place of the moon, the city of the moon. It is a place of a secondary light, not the fullness of light. We're not even trying to look for the fullness of light. We're satisfied for what we see in the darkness. Oh, there it is, right there. There's what I'm seeking. That is the place where I need to go. That is the place where I will find who I truly am, through this reflection of the light as opposed to the true light. Now, those of us in the flower generation, which all of us actually probably belong to or close to it, except for you, Zach, you're not in that generation. Well, you're sort of of that generation. We won't talk about that right now. But we will say this about this. All of us, every one of us, were seeking something that was only a reflection, not the truth. Because we were seeking something in the outer, or we were trying to create something in the outer, as opposed to simply recognizing and becoming that which exists within us and within us all. Yes, it was nice that we called one another brother and sister, but I can tell you of many other types of congregations who call themselves brother and sister. And they have within them, have held within themselves ideas which relate to an idea of separation, where they can say, there's us and there's them. And I'm not going to be a part of them. I'm going to be a part of us, because we hold the answers that are correct and right. No, we didn't hold those answers as being correct and right. We just held on to that which made us feel good at the time. It only made us feel good. It only made us feel safe, or it made us feel like we were heading in the right direction, not realizing that at any moment something could befall us and practically almost destroy us. Remember that this guy was, back in our story, he was stripped of his outer garments. He wore outer garments which had within it colors and designs so that you could tell who he was. We do the same thing. We decorate ourselves, or we have little pins on our lapel or whatever it might be, which tells others what club or organization or gang we belong to. We do this in order to gather around us those who know we are right. Now, because they couldn't recognize him as being part of their clan, the other two people who considered themselves religious walked right on by. The one who didn't care one way or the other about all of those outer trappings, recognized that this person is in need of help. This person desires and needs right now mercy. He needs compassion. He needs help. He needs all the help he can get to restore himself back to life. You and I, everyone out here in the world right at the moment, are really in a place where we need to strip ourselves of our outer garments, our outer understanding of what we think the world is. Stop trying to join into a group of people who think they are right all the time, and realize that we are simply on a journey. We are on a journey that can lead us into a false place, or we can be led back into a place that is closer and closer to the truth all the time. Take yourself on that journey. Take yourself on the journey recognizing that the place that you truly live and have your being, this Jerusalem, is a place that always has existed and always will exist for you. It is the true place of peace. It is the place of the true light. That doesn't mean that others live in a false light. It simply means that we're all on a journey and we're all going somewhere, and we have a choice within us to recognize that light within ourselves, and recognize and demonstrate mercy to all those, whether we happen to agree with them or not, agree with their beliefs, their situation, their politics, whatever it might be. We stay in a place of peace, and we make all the journeys we have, journeys toward this reflection of light. We go to them knowing that it's merely a reflection. It is merely an idea that we have decided to accept, as opposed to the true understanding, the true light. So I ask you to be all of those characters in your life. Recognize the ones who walk on by. Recognize them and forgive them as well. Forgive those characters within yourself, those ideas, those impulses to walk on by, and recognize that all are valuable. All are part of us. We are not separated from anyone. Whether we agree with them or not makes no difference. Allow ourselves to strip away the outer idea and the outer garment and see them for who they truly are. A person in need of help. A person who is crying on the inside. A person who has had damage to them from some sort of outer idea or outer belief or outer circumstance, outer memory, outer happening in their lives. Look in the outer and then look on the inner. You know the old adage, one finger pointing out, three fingers pointing back towards yourself. So always remember that. Remember that there is no one outside of yourself, only the idea, the reflection of you outside of yourself coming back to you. Life is a boomerang. God bless.